What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be previewing round 6 between Port Adelaide and GWS this Sunday arvo at Metricon Stadium in what is a big game for Port Adelaide in particular. They can't particularly want to lose this one. It sort of undoes all the good hard work they've put in for the first 4 games, and unfortunately going down to Brisbane last week, it's going to make this one even more of a challenge against the Giants, who are in some good form at the moment, coming off wins against Collingwood and last week against Hawthorn as well. So they're in some fine form, and I just want to know, the big question is, was last week against the Lions a blip in the radar, or is there a little more underlying problems in the system at the moment? But let's preview this week's game and see exactly who I think will come out on top. It's one of those games that you really don't expect Port Adelaide to get up. Now, when I say that, it's more the fact that us as fans are used to seeing us play some pretty good footy over the last few years, but then when it comes up to the time against a challenging side like GWS, we seem to fall and stumble our way to the finish line and not quite get the job done. We haven't had the greatest of records against the Giants of late. I don't think we bet them. We haven't beaten them since 2017, I think, maybe. We haven't done too well. They don't match up too well against us either. And most notably last year at the Adelaide Oval, where there's only 55 points scored from us and 56 for them. It was just one of those scrappy, disgusting looking games of football in weird, cold conditions. And I think every time we have played them, it has been at the Adelaide Oval recently, and it has sort of suited the Giants' conditions a little bit more in the way they play their football, and they are fast attacking. They do have some very big names in their forward line in particular, but the way they play their footy is a little more suited to those cold, dreary conditions. They feast off of any little mistake that the opposition makes, and they're able to push you and pressurise you when you do have the football, and they just hunt, and they hunt in numbers, and that's sort of a winning recipe at the moment. That's what got them to the grand final, and I think they've found that in the last couple of weeks against both Collingwood and Hawthorn. So for Port Adelaide's sake, it's all about, we play a pretty similar brand of football in terms of hunting in numbers, pressurising the ball carrier, and feasting off of being able to keep the ball inside our attacking 50. So against the Giants, it's going to have to be that same sort of football, and we're going to have to play a little bit differently going inside 50. We can't target Charlie Dixon and focus on putting the ball on the top of his head, because the Giants defenders are just going to feast on that. Davis, Haynes, Shaw, they're all going to be there or thereabouts, just looking at that ball coming in and thinking, I'm having that for dinner tonight, because that's as easy as you can get. So we're going to have to lower our eyes and sort of use those shorter options against the Giants, and that's how we can pierce our way through their zone and become, give ourselves the best opportunity possible. But it all starts in the midfield. Now, a big midfield are both GWS and Port Adelaide. There is some serious depth for both teams. And with our midfield, they're not entirely the same, but similar attributes that carry all the way through each player. There's no real speed. The Giants have a lot of speed in their midfield. They've got some flexibility, as do we, but it's sort of a different flexibility where we throw Houston in there, we throw Rosie in there, Butters goes in there, Robbie Gray comes into the midfield, and they're all crafty players with a little bit of speed, but the Giants have that pace, that X factor out of their midfield that can tear you up if they're seriously on. And this is why this week's game is so important for us, I think, to win, because if we're able to counter-attack any GWS mistakes, hit the scoreboard, and put it through the big sticks, we can't shy away from the fact the first 4 games that we played, including the Gold Coast game before the lockdown, was some serious pressurising football. Now, yeah, the opposition weren't that great at the time, and I think the West Coast game in particular showcased that even though West Coast were down in form at that stage, we still brought it to them, and they still were that capable side of getting a win. But we targeted them, and we were able to play a simple brand of football, but keep that pressure on and take our opportunities. And that's why Charlie kicked 6 goals. And I think we're going to have to play that same brand of football, that smarter brand of football that I know we're capable of. against the Lions, we were scared. And when I say scared, we were sort of like surprised. Right? That we weren't first to the footy. We were a little bit taken back from how well the Brisbane Lions played. That I think Port weren't able to really take advantage of any opportunity they had because they felt a little bit rushed and they felt that pressure instantly. Now, we've always been a target of that. We've always been that team that seems to rush the game on a little bit quicker than we think it is. And we just can't, the better sides are able to take that half a second, which makes the biggest of differences. And I think we're going to do that against GWS this weekend. And at Metricon, it's going to be beautiful conditions. We're so used to playing at Metricon now. It is our home game. So take that experience with us and utilise what we know. And the dimensions of the grounds are so different to what GWS have played at the Adelaide Oval. They play so well at the Adelaide Oval. And it's a little bit different at Metricon. A little bit more open. So it could be differently... the outcome could be different for sure. The main thing I'm focusing on this week, yes, the midfield has to stand up and from the word go, really target, not on the opposition, really target that footy, get in there first and really put physical presence in there. But the other thing I'm focusing on in particular is our defensive line. Now, we'll talk about matchups and who's going to come in a second, but clearly, last week we were exposed with height. Yes, the Lions got first to the footy, lowered their eyes, and were hitting leads bang on. Their skill level was sensational, and I mentioned that. GWS are pretty much the same. They've got their tall forwards, Finlayson, Cameron. I think Perryman as well has been kicking some goals. So it's going to have to be that similar structure again. Cleary, Jonas, McKenzie, they're shorter, but they do match up a little bit better than, say, a Hipwood. And then obviously you had Charlie Cameron, who was through there as well, and McCarthy was taking marks. And I think we're going to be a little bit tighter this week and make sure that we're not that... I know we can be attacking coming out of defence, but we've got to be a little bit more reserved, especially with GWS, because they have those small, crafty forwards as well. Toby Green is going to be an X-factor this week. So it's going to have to be that focus of making sure that our one-on-one opponents, the matchups are right. I'd assume Cleary will go to Cameron. McKenzie might actually go to Finlayson. They're going to have Mumford in the ruck, so you're going to have Lysette fighting against him. They might rest Mumford forward at one stage. Perryman, the matchups are going to have to chop and change. They're going to have to really suit each other well. And then you've got the opposition down the other end, and Charlie Dixon's going to have a big handful because he's got Phil Davis, Nick Haynes coming all around there. So it's the matchups. We don't match up too well against GWS, I know that. But we're going to bring in, I think we'll definitely bring in Ryan Burton. Who goes out is another question. I particularly would say Bonner for a like for like. I think Farrell has had a couple of quiet games, so you might see Farrell come out, Houston push up into the midfield a bit more, and then Burton goes back, and that may work a little bit better. Bonner's capabilities are there, but he just hasn't shown them in the patch we've seen since starting the season up again. He's had some good moments, but I don't think they've been consistently there. And it was showcased on the weekend that when he's under pressure, he does crack a little bit. So hopefully it does work out for him. But yeah, one change. Burton has to come in. We need that skill set. Whether we make another or not, lean it maybe for a bit of height factor down back. Not 100% sure how they'll work that one out, the selection committee, but Burton will definitely be in. Right, so that's it for this week. I think Port Adelaide will actually get up by 17 points. It's going to be a difficult game, no doubt, but I think we'll bounce back. And if we're going to bounce back, it'll be this week. And obviously, with the season so short, every win is a must. Should be cherished as well. And this would be a big win for the club. And making sure we bounce back. We do usually bounce back quite well sometimes. So hopefully it does do that against the Giants. But it's going to be a mammoth task. But it's going to be a very, very exciting game of football. Well, there you have it. That's my preview for round 6, Port Adelaide versus GWS. Let me know in the comments below what you're thinking about this weekend's game. I'd really like to see this game broadcasted in to the US, because last week's Adelaide Fremantle game was abysmal to show to an international audience. Show this one. Be a little bit more exciting for them. You might actually see a score over 40. So, go on. Take that one, ESPN. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide and AFL content. My name is Anthony, and as always, come on,